What's up, y'all? Welcome to episode 5. We're a day late, but right on time, man. It's good to talk some baseball with my bro Dante on episode 5 of the High and Outside podcast, MLBBro.com's weekly review. We took Mother's Day off yesterday. Shout out to all the moms out there. And
Definitely.
yes, sir. We're here to give you guys the rundown. First off, Dante, man, how you doing, bro?
I'm solid, bro. It's a good weekend in A, and the weather's finally changing. I was out of the ballpark the last few days with the Brewers, and we'll get into that later. But everything's real good. We got more games coming up this week. They actually got a pretty solid homestand coming up, so I'm excited about that. But other than that, I can't complain. How about you, bro?
Man, I feel you. Rangers been gone for about a week, but we're here for about 2 weeks. Got the Royals, Red Sox, and I believe Angels back in town. Sadly, without Joe Adele, who just got brought down, but you get to see Hot Taylor Ward and Shohei Ohtani, who we'll get into. But I want to start off this show by saying a happy 62nd birthday to the late Tony Gwynn, one of the greatest hitters of all time. Would have turned 62 today. Former coach of San Diego State, Padre great, one of the greatest hitters of all time. I seen clips about who Ty France, who he used to coach. He had also a big impact on Steven Strasburg throughout his career. So just wanted to give him the quick shout out.
Yeah, no, definitely, bro. Like you said, one of the best to ever do it. And I think Tony Gwynn is one of those athletes where he has some of those stats that are like ridiculous, where I was like, the amount of times he struck out, ever all time, especially today when you look at guys who strike out 150, 180, 200 times, like Tony Gwynn, would never do anything like that. So, shout out to Tony, one of the greatest to ever do it. And just prayers to his family and everybody that, because that's somebody who definitely affected a lot of people in positive ways. And so, somebody who's definitely a legend in the baseball community.
Yes, sir. Another one of many MLB bro legends we got. But let's get started with baseball, what we came here to do. Yesterday, 4 walk-off wins for 4 separate teams, of course. We saw a gritty. We saw a team turn from going 0-2 with 0.1 win probability to the Padres mashing a big home run. Ohtani scored a big winning run. What was maybe your favorite moment from yesterday?
My favorite moment from yesterday was probably the Ohtani game winning run because, we don't really see a lot of emotion out of him. And you saw him really fired up after he scored that run. And, with the A's being in first place, the Angels, we need that. That's good for baseball to have Mike. You can't have Mike Trout and Shohei Ohtani continuously miss the playoffs. That's something that you can't have. Those are 2 of the biggest names in your sport. Not only biggest name, but 2 of the biggest talents in the game. And so for those, for me, that was the most exciting one of the weekend because that team is really fighting and playing really well.
Man, and I'm gonna take it to the East Coast. One that happened up in New York. It's in somewhat of I don't want to call it a rivalry, but I feel like whenever the Yankees and Rangers link up, it's always a good, tight, competitive game. It was raining up there a lot, so they actually had 3 days off. Came fired up, and Glover actually hits the walk-off, goes home and gritties. And there was some controversy coming out of Chris Woodward's mouth, Texas Rangers manager. He basically said the Yankee Stadium's a little league field. Home run, and that's probably not a home run in 28% of the ballparks. Tried to fire up the guys. He did so, but it didn't work for the offense today as the Yankees became the second team to reach the 20th win mark after that. But like we said, 4 walk-off wins on a great Sunday in baseball. Let's keep it moving along, though, and I want to give another shout-out and congratulations because we knew he was going to get it. It was only a matter of time for Dusty Baker. He reached 2,000 wins last week in a big matchup against the Mariners, series at which the Astros finally won. They're actually looking like they're picking up some steam. Pitching's getting better. Justin Verlander's still being an ace. We speak on him a lot, but just give me a quick Dusty outlook from your perspective. I know you got to see him up close and personal during the World Series last year when the Astros faced the Braves.
Yeah, I mean, Dusty's one of the best to ever do it. I think that goes without saying. The inventor of the high five. People always throw that fun fact in there. He's been around baseball. He's one of the great characters in baseball. You feel me? Like, Dusty Baker, that name rings bells. And so, for him to win 2,000 games, he's the first African-American manager to do it, correct? Dusty.
Yes,
Is
sir.
Dusty the
Yes,
first or the second? He's the first, right? Yeah.
first African American manager. He's the only manager not in the Hall of Fame
To
besides
do
Bruce
it. Right.
Bochy. Uh,
Exactly. And Bochy's gonna go. So, every man pretty soon we'll be able to say, every manager with 2,000 wins is a Hall of Famer. And I think Dusty definitely fits that category. So, and like you said, one of the best to ever do it, from strategy, every aspect of the game. It's just he has yet to, get all the way to the mountaintop and win that World Series. And I think that will come eventually.
yeah, I think it's going to come eventually too. And it's weird to see how the Astros interact. They're one of the most calm teams, real relaxed in BP, and they lost a big piece of their team with Carlos Correa. We've seen a few pieces go, but the way Pena's swinging the bat, you still got Gurriel, Alex Bregman. I think he's the one question mark I think I have for the team. He was a superstar. I think he still is a superstar, but he hasn't quite put together those mashing seasons we saw during his early years. Jose Altuve also has came back from injury. We didn't discuss the push up, but what would you rank their infield in terms of just around infields around baseball?
I mean, I think right now with it being so early, a lot of the numbers, but time-wise, they only have top 5 infield, like easily a top 5 infield. And I think Altuve being the guy, what you've seen the way he's performed, especially come postseason, the way he turns it on. That's the type of team you just need to see. They just need to get there. And so I know we always talk about Dusty's getting up there in age with that. Not only that infield, but that entire squad. And like you said, with them losing Carlos Correa, but you see why they weren't really, worried about that because, Pena's come right in and stepped in. They think that guy's a superstar. He certainly played well, come straight out the gate. So I think I would say, if you said top 5, I wouldn't be mad, but I think right now I had him top 10 and, in the game.
I'm gonna have them around that same area, and I'm looking forward to seeing what they can do. This is the American League West is usually a division that they win by multiple games. This year it's looking a little closer, especially with the Angels. I'll give a quick rundown of the division leaders. We have the Yankees, who, like I said earlier today, Monday, they clinched their 20th win. The Twins on top of the Central. We've seen the White Sox struggle trying to pick that back up together. They actually have runners on the corners right now. First inning. Looks like Grandal's up to bat, down 1-0 to the Guardians.
Yeah, they actually going for 7 wins in a row today.
Okay, bouncing right back. I saw earlier today, I believe there were 2 games back for the Twins right now. We see in the AL West, those Angels are tied with the Astros in first place. On the National League side, the Mets, first 20-win winners, we're going to get to them. Shortly. They had a crazy comeback down 7-1, beat the Mets, and then the Brewers and Dodgers to round out the division leaders in Major League Baseball. I do want to touch real quick, though, on Shohei Ohtani, who last week showed us why he was last season's MVP, why he was voted the number 1 player in baseball. He's been on fire this week. He went 6+ innings, 11 strikeouts against Boston, a day game start, one of the most explosive. His stuff looked good that night. We talk about him every week. I got to kind of smack myself in the back of the head for thinking that he wasn't going to be able to pitch to that Cy Young form. Do you think we see him start another All-Star game this year on the mound? Is he going to be on the mound batting in leadoff position like we saw last?
Yeah, definitely. I think, especially with the fan vote and how much that'll impact. I think with Shohei, you'll definitely see him. I think he'll go on one of those long streaks where he gets, 8 or 9 consecutive All-Star starts as long as he stays healthy. That's what's going to be key for Shohei because we've seen when healthy he is, a top 5 player in baseball without question.
Yeah, he's dominated the Boston Red Sox lineup that's looked a little shaky. They're not getting anything from Trevor Story. Big sign him to that big contract who's over there.
And I'm gonna say real quick, I don't like saying "I told you so." I really do. But Trevor Story, the whole thing was outside of Coors Field. What was he gonna be? Like we saw the splits, and it was clear as day. Like he was a completely different player away from Colorado. And now that you see him away from Colorado every day, people haven't liked what they've seen.
Yeah, and I've heard a few rumors. He had a few other places he could have went. I honestly thought that maybe he want to make the move to the outfield. But I see him on a lineup with Xander Bogaerts, Rafi Devers, hitters like JD Martinez, and I think we're going to see more success from him later on. Maybe you don't get that all-star story, but I mean, having him 6th, 7th in your lineup, I'm hoping it's not a Cody Bellinger, Christian Yelich type thing where they're just batting 100, little 200, not making much noise at all. But I do want to move on to our last thing before we have Nick Hamilton joining us live from LA. Again, this is the MLB Bro High and Outside podcast, MLB Bros weekly rundown. We'll drop this link after. You can watch us on YouTube after the show and get the SoundCloud link. But the top 10 hitter rankings came out. We had 4 MLB Bros on that list: Jazz Chisholm, Byron Buxton, J.P. Crawford, Aaron Judge. I'll let you get it started with Jazz and Buxton. Just talk about the impacts they've made and your time with Jazz you spent last week and just what you've seen from Buxton since coming back from injury.
Yeah. I mean, the thing with Jazz is he's been an extremely aggressive hitter. Like coming out the leadoff spot, he's actually hitting 361 on balls he's actually put in play. So, that takes away the strikeouts and things like that. Yeah. Otherwise, his regular average is 310. He's slugging 621, which is last time I checked, it was tied with Nolan Arenado for first in the league. And, they're really trying to make some noise down there in Miami. That division is going to be tough. It's just unfortunate that he's in a division with the Braves and the Mets. And, he has, out of those, between those 3 teams, he definitely has the 3rd best team. So, he'll be able to succeed from a personal point, but I'm not sure about the Marlins as a whole. Even though, like I said, we saying it's still early, but I spoke with Ron Washington before the game yesterday, and he was telling me, no, he was like, you have to, every day needs to be a consistency about your team. And so for the Marlins, Jazz will continue to shine, but I don't know about them, but he's on fire right now. And for Buxton, we talk about everything, everything he does for the Twins. And, he's actually, slugging 722 now as of a few days ago. He was day to day. I believe he had another little nagging injury, nothing crazy, but he was, he is back in the lineup. Yeah, he is back in the lineup. So, got to monitor that. But Buxton, that's another guy that we've said, as long as you can keep him on the field, as long as he's out there and he's healthy, he's going to play at an elite level. It's a guy who's put up similar number to Mike Trout, who is like the undisputed best player in the game. So as long as he can stay on the field, I think he'll definitely finish top 5 by the end of the season as far as hitters go. Like, and I actually like they're ranking hitters now. It gives, it just basically adds to the conversation and gives people more to talk about during the week, because we talk about how boring baseball is and how you need to get more eyes on it and make more of a conversation. So I think this is 2 guys who will definitely be on that list for a long time.
Yeah, and I'm going to have to stop talking about the Bros for a sec just to mention the number 1 player on that board, Taylor Ward. Came out of nowhere. He might not even been in the Angels opening day starting lineup, but he's first in OPS, 2nd in average, 4th in WAR. And just while you were talking, your White Sox look like they're going to extend the winning streak to 8 games. Gavin Sheets just hit a 3-run home run. Of course, he's on the bench on my fantasy team, but they're up 4-1 big now. But I'll just touch real quick on JP and Aaron Judge. Crawford, again, we've seen him with the power numbers this year, top 4 in OPS, another top 5 WAR guy on a Mariners lineup that's not hitting. He's the only guy that's activated. Julio Rodriguez leads the league in steals, but he just recently got his first home run. Haven't seen much from Jared Kelenic. Kyle Lewis is also nearing a return to be back to the team, so it's going to be interesting to see where he goes. As for Aaron Judge, he continues to get it done. Big home run yesterday. He scored the game-winning run in today's Rangers versus Yankees game. Just continues to be one of the most consistent players in the game. Here's a nice little shot from Judge during their big series last week against Toronto, which, like we say, every game's going to count between those AL East rivals. It came down to 1 game last year, so you can't say, oh, this August 3rd or this May 14th, whatever day, May 7th day, May 9th, they all count equally. But we'll see the rankings come out every Friday. So we'll give you guys an update next Sunday on what bros were able to stay and what bros were maybe able to climb. We got a hitter I think we're talking about later. Actually, two hitters that we're going to be talking about later that I think will be joining that list soon. And that's the perfect time for us to bring in Nick Hamilton, our content reporter out of Los Angeles, to join the High and Outside podcast.
Hey, what's up, guys? How you doing?
What's going on, Nick? How you doing?
I'm good, man. I'm good. How are you living?
Hey, man, I'm living and breathing. Can't complain.
Yes, sir. Well, I appreciate you for joining us on the High and Outside podcast. Nick Hamilton from MLBBro.com. And we were just talking about Mookie Betts, who's on fire this week. His last 7 games, I'll give him the stats: 379 average, 8 runs, 8 RBIs, 3 home runs from the Dodger leadoff hitter. They were they're fresh off a sweep against the Cubs that they finished off last night. Mookie got off to a slow start. I heard him saying that some of the balls just weren't falling how he wanted to. So just talk about this season. Was there a point where he was you saw any early struggle with his swing, or are things just finally starting to align?
I think things are just starting to align. I think when you have a new lineup, especially with the addition of Freddie Freeman in the lineup now, obviously the departure of Corey Seager, you got Trey Turner in the lineup now. So I think it was just an adjustment period. I think Mookie also had to make sure he was going to be healthy as far as making sure that he's going to, pace himself throughout the season. It's going to be a very long, grueling season, especially them starting later than normal because of the MLB strike that happened over the course of the last several months. So I think it's just a matter of just him finding his swing, finding his groove, and he's definitely, found his groove and ignited other players. I mean, you look at his, I think he's batting 243, 263, something to that degree. And then you look at Freddie Freeman right behind him, who's also continuing to kill it with the batting average and the batting percentage. But also, too, you got to look at the Dodgers, too. I mean, the Dodgers outscored you talked about the sweep from Chicago. They outscored Chicago 20-3 in that series, which was absolutely remarkable for them to have that type of series with a doubleheader and then still being able to play games the way they need to play them on the road, because no matter how the Cubs are playing, it's still a tough place to play at Wrigley Field because you are on the road. And then Dodgers are currently right now, they're 19-7. And nobody's talking about the NL West, and that's tighter than a Beyonce jumpsuit when it comes to the standings between the Dodgers, the Padres, the Rockies, the Giants, and then there's the D-backs all by themselves in a lonely basement. But the Dodgers have, like you said earlier, you mentioned earlier, Malik, every game counts in the AL East. Well, every game counts in the NL West. And the Dodgers understand that, and they understand the assignment, especially what was bestowed upon them early on in the season by Dave Roberts, that said, oh, yeah, I'm guaranteeing we're going to win a World Series championship this year. So they understand the mission at hand. But I think guys are starting to come together and it's starting to click at the right time.
Yeah, and I think he did need to light that fire under him after they missed their first World Series in like 5 years. So that's a nice job there from Dave. I want to talk about a guy we just saw his highlights, Walker Buehler, dominant. He has the greatest winning percentage for a pitcher through his first 100 starts in Major League history. Nobody, no Sandy Koufax, Nolan Ryan, nobody better. Last night, 7 innings, 4 runs, 1 hit, 2 walks, 6 Ks. Just how underappreciated. They had Max Scherzer last year, and they immediately kicked Buehler off of the ace chair. Clayton Kershaw is still the biggest name in their rotation. How underrated is Walker Buehler?
Well, I won't say they kicked him off the ace chair, because everybody in Southern California and LA knew that he was the ace regardless. If you watch any of how he approaches the game, his pitching, his control at the on the mound, his fastball, his command, everybody knew he was the ace. Now, he may not have been the most popular name, and that's a different story. You talked about Max Scherzer last year. You talked about Clayton Kershaw and what Clayton has accomplished even this season, being the all-time strikeouts leader, which is a major accomplishment. But Clayton Kershaw's been there longer. Clayton Kershaw's been through the fire and through the water. So he's definitely been an instrumental part of the Dodgers' success at that time. But now there's a new kid on the block in Walker Buehler, who approaches the game much like Clayton Kershaw did in his early days as far as his command, his control, and he's actually better because of the strength in his arm and how he looks at the game. He looks at the game geometrically, as far as when he sees on the mound, as far as the signs, the hitters, knowing who he has to face, night in, night out, and he comes prepared. He shuts them down like we saw on Sunday night. He lines them up and shuts them down. And I think it's going to continue. I think Walker Buehler, if he continues on this pace, will definitely be an all-star candidate as the game is going to be played in his backyard in Los Angeles in July.
Yeah, and speaking of, that'd be kind of crazy to see Shohei get the start on one side. I mean, I know we don't play the All-Star game for wins and losses, but when you start with when you got the red versus the blue, the NL versus the AL, how do you not get into that? Again, this is Nick Hamilton joining the High and Outside podcast. I got 2 quick questions for you, Nick.
Mm-hmm.
My first one, like you said, it's a deep NL West. So what team do you think has the biggest shot at the Dodgers? Is it the Giants, who creeped up with 117 wins? Or is it maybe a lineup that I'm down to say might be a top 10, for sure 15, 12 lineup in baseball? The Colorado Rockies, Chris Bryant, CJ Cron tied for the home run lead, Connor Jones. You still got Chuck Nasty, Charlie Blackmon. So who you think the biggest threat to the Dodgers?
Well, I'll say this much. The biggest threat to the Dodgers are the Dodgers in health. That's the biggest threat. To get to more in depth in that question, yes, the Giants and the Rockies have improved their rosters over the course of the season, in the offseason, I should say. And they play these teams approximately, I believe, 76 times over the course of the season. So they're going to have plenty of practice against these teams. And the Dodgers understand they have to take the commanding lead. Now, they're not going to win every series because it's a very long, grueling season, but they have to make sure that their defense is tight and make sure they're hitting the ball at the plate at the right time. And also, too, with runners in scoring position, the Dodgers are going to have to make sure they capitalize, because the Rockies will catch you slipping like a bad transmission if you're not ready for it, because their defense is pretty solid this year from what I've been able to see. And so the Rockies will make you pay for mistakes, especially at Coors Field, or whatever the hell it's named now. But I think also, too, with the San Francisco Giants, the Giants knew they let one slip away last year in the playoffs, even though they won the division. But the Dodgers were more adamant in that 5th game and deciding game in San Francisco. Bad taste in the Giants' mouth. And I think also, too, that rivalry continues to be more heated as the seasons progress. So I think that's going to be one of the most intense series down the road, especially in the second half of the season, especially when playoff pictures are starting to come a lot more clear at that time. You're going to see guys step up even more. So I like I said, I think you're looking at the Colorado Rockies. I think you're looking at the Giants, and I think that's safe to say, because those are 2 teams that can hurt you, especially if one of them ends up getting a wild card. They're going to be very interesting to see in the playoffs if one of them is able to obtain that wild card in the playoff picture.
Yes, sir. And I want to talk to you about one more guy. So you got to speak with Josh Bell yesterday. We'll play that interview a little later in the show, but he's another guy who's probably if not for Josiah Gray, who might be the Nationals representative in the All-Star game. He's heated up. He crushed it at the plate last year after I thought Pittsburgh kind of let him go for not much. Crushed it at the plate last year, was carrying on the team. He was one guy that I thought might be on the move, but wasn't. Just talk about what you got from your conversation with him and the outlook that he has on this season.
Well, he's taking it one game at a time for sure. He's not getting too high and too low, which is very smart. I mean, he's been in this position. He's been in the league long enough to understand, not just from the business side, but also from the player side as well, as far as being on the team. And this is this guy that's betting on himself. That's why he negated to sign an extension. He's going to take the 1-year deal, and he's going to bet on himself. And then when it's time for him to make a splash, he's going to make a significant splash. And right now he's had such a hot start, but it's been his patience. It's been his diligence at the plate. I mean, when I waited on him Sunday, he spent about 45 minutes in BP in the batting cage, just practicing his swing, getting himself mentally prepared. And so when you see a guy with that much dedication and that much discipline that's willing to say, hey, I know what I have at stake, I know I have to risk it all, he's going to make sure he's going to come through and deliver. And plus, he's not putting a lot of pressure on himself. And one thing I learned from Josh Bell is that I believe he felt like he put a lot more pressure on himself than he should have in the previous seasons. And so this year he said, look, I'm just going to take it how it comes. However the balls come down the plate, rather, I'm going to make sure that I connect as much as I can and make sure I get on base and help my guys out. It's not just about me. This is a team effort, and I want to make sure I help my team get W's more than L's, and that's exactly what he's done, and he crushed it on Saturday night. Sunday, not so much, as we saw Shohei Ohtani pretty much score the game-winning run for the Angels in a much-needed win for the Angels, who won that series against the Nats moving forward. So, and to answer to your earlier comment, Malik, about having Shohei Ohtani on one side and having Walker Buehler on another, baseball couldn't draw up a better script and a better screenplay to have that in LA, in the land of stars, in the biggest, or the second biggest market in the nation, to have that to promote your All-Star game. To me, I think that would be incredible if that happened. I think it would be All-Star worthy, and you might get some celebs to come out to even watch that, because Shohei Ohtani is box office. Shohei Ohtani is definitely Showtime in its purest form. And to get that kid out there along with Walker Buehler representing the Dodgers at Dodger Stadium, I mean, it doesn't get any better than that outside of the concert. And I'm hoping the concert that they have for All-Star break will feature somebody like Ice Cube or Snoop or LL Cool J or somebody of that capacity, because good Lord, you cannot have this country and Western music that y'all normally typically have out here in these LA streets with a crowd that's predominantly black and brown. That ain't gonna work.
Hey, all I gotta say is you dropping a new tape, Kendrick. We love to see you out there, man. We love to see you.
Oh, please get Kendrick Lamar.
I know we see him in the stands a few times, but again, appreciate you for joining us. Nick, go ahead and give the people how they can reach you on Twitter and Instagram.
Man, thank you all for having me. Congratulations to you both on this show, man. Thanks again for having me. You can catch me on Instagram at Nick Hamilton LA and on Twitter at Nick Hamilton 213, and then catch me all season long on the West Coast at MLBBro.com.
Yes, sir. We'll see you. We'll have to have you again on here shortly. Have a good rest of your week and enjoy some baseball.
Thanks, you guys too.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Again, Nick Hamilton from MLBBro.com, out there live in LA, covers the Dodgers for us, and does a great job doing it. Appreciate him for joining our show. Now let's move on. I want to go to our live at the ballpark edition, and I'll let Dante take this one. I didn't get to see much baseball, but we got to see a crazy, or one of the better matchups, person v. person that we see. We saw Corbin Burns, Cy Young winner, take on Ronald Acuna Jr. In the Braves versus Brewers game Saturday. Hit him with a mean silencer on the home run. Talk about that series you saw. Kutch, of course, got the COVID, so you weren't able to see him. But just talk about that moment from Acuna, as well as his home run. He falls over and tumbles, looks like a sloppy Adrian Beltre.
I know a lot of people thought it was going to be a slow process for Ronnie with his comeback, but he's actually come out on fire and, doing his thing. And so he's hit 2 home runs. He's stolen 4 bases so far. And I think more than anything, like you said, with that matchup, he's shown you once again that he's box office. He's big time. Like, he steps up in these moments. And it has been, since the day he stepped back in. This was actually the Braves' first series win of the season. They really jumped on Milwaukee last.
I hate to interrupt you. I hate to interrupt you, but say that one more time. That's a crazy stat that I didn't even know. They hadn't won a series before that.
The Braves hadn't won a series all year until they took 2 out of 3 from Milwaukee. And so, you got a 2-game set starting tomorrow with the Red Sox. So, they actually got a chance to really go on a run here and really get some momentum. And we talked about it when he came back last week, but adding Ronnie at the top of that lineup and dropping Ozzie really lengthens that lineup. And now you have, you got a real problem on your hands, because now you have a lineup that can score 5 or 6 runs in an inning, and they can average a few runs a game. So that's gonna be problems. Max Fried is pitching like an ace. Soroka is doing individual work. He's now working on, fielding and covering first base. So you have another guy who's coming back. Charlie Morton had a bounce back start. So the Braves are really starting to get on the roll. And like I said, I actually had a chance to go down to the field and talk with Ron Washington for a few minutes before, and he was saying, you can't let that hole get too big, because a lot of people will fall back on the fact that it's early. But the reality is, no, if you let that hole get too deep early, then you'll never get out of it. So he was like, they have to take day by day, game by game, but they really have to get back into their groove and do what they do. And so we've seen that these last few games, and if they're able to do that and keep that going, I think the Mets are going to have a problem on their hands.
I do have to give a quick shout out to Big Rowdy Tellez from the Milwaukee Brewers, where he have like 8 RBIs in 2 games, crushing the ball. Big dude, first baseman, is finally getting PT consistently, and he's making it all worth it. So big piece of the Brewers lineup that's they're hitting a little bit. I'm a little still skeptical on them, but they're hitting a little bit more. I do want to get to let's see if we can get this clip to play. Our Nick Hamilton, who just joined the show, had a chance to go live at the ballpark with Nationals first baseman Josh Bell. Talked hitting and his outlook on the season. So let's play that interview for the people. I'm not sure if we're having any technical sorry, we're having technical difficulties playing on that video, but let me give you guys the summary of what it was about. So like he said, the Nationals were in Los Angeles yesterday, Anaheim, to take on those Angels. Nick got a chance to talk with Bell. And like he said, I'm repeating sentiments, I know, but it's been taking it one at bat at a time, simplifying things and not adding so much pressure on himself that's allowed him to be who he is right now. Actually, we got it right here.
And I'm live at the ballpark with MLBBro.com.
The secret to that success thus far and that good start.
Yeah, I think I'm just trying to keep things simple right now. Just trying to square the ball up, try to hit line drives, not try to do much more than that. I think in years prior, I'd gotten off to some rough starts, trying to hit homers. So right now, I'm trying to hit the ball more on the line and let the homers take care of themselves.
What do you do to get relaxed and get focused, get ready? Are you listening to any kind of music? If so, what are you listening to these days to get you into that vibe?
It really just depends. I'm from Texas, so I like Travis Scott. I like Kendrick. I like Drake. It just depends on what I'm feeling, what's hot at the moment. If I listen to something pre-game and I have a good game, I'll definitely listen to the same thing next day. So it really just depends.
You anticipate a new Kendrick?
Yeah, I'm pumped for it. It's been a minute, so we'll see what he comes up with.
Also, too, this is obviously marking the 75th anniversary of Jackie Robinson breaking the color barrier, and obviously MLB is going to honor him during the All-Star Week. What did his legacy mean to you, and how you came into the majors?
Oh, it's awesome. I mean, it's just opportunity for everyone to have a chance at this game. You look across our dugout, you look across the Angels dugout, you see Ohtani. You see a guy like me, you see Ruiz, you see Juan Soto. Really a melting pot of colors playing this game, and it all started with him. So definitely got to pay your respects and, just understand that, it's his sacrifices that, allowed us to play.
Yes, sir. And again, that was Josh Bell, first baseman for the Washington Nationals. I honestly think that he will not be a first baseman for the Washington Nationals this entire season. Somebody's always looking for a big power hitting first baseman. So we'll see how that goes for Mr. Bell. But we've come to an end of another edition of the High and Outside podcast. They always fly by way too fast. Give me some that you look at that you're looking forward to seeing this week.
Oh, the Padres coming to town, so I'm definitely looking forward to that. I think that'll definitely be a good series. Acuna versus Tatis is still on the disabled list, but that's still a young, exciting team out there in San Diego. So it's definitely going to be a good matchup.
Manny Machado, I'll give a quick rundown. I was just looking up some stats. First in batting average, second in on-base percentage, third in slugging percentage, first in WAR. Quietly one of the best third basemen in the game. Everybody hates him. He's always been one of my favorite guys.
Yeah, he can play
since the Adam Jones Orioles days. But for me, it's going to be this young, fun Kansas City Royals team that's rolling into town tomorrow. You got Bobby Witt. You got do it all, everything, stolen base guy, Whit Merrifield. I like the scrappy dudes like that. And we get to see Gold Glove, should be Gold Glove center fielder, a guy who might have made the catch of the year, Michael A. Taylor. And I get to discuss, I'm going to discuss the infamous Reds versus Pittsburgh Pirate fight with Amir Garrett. So I'll see how that goes.
Yeah, no, that'll definitely be fun. That'll be entertaining.
Yes, sir. But again, I want to thank you guys for watching another episode of the High and Outside podcast live on Facebook Live. We'll be coming to you from most Sunday nights. live at 7:30 Central Time. You can watch this podcast on YouTube and listen on SoundCloud right after we end it, because we're going to have it right up for you guys. We'll see you next week. Again, this is Malik Wright with Dante Miles. Shout out Ray, and thank you guys for joining us.
MLBBro.com, covering black and brown major league.